Hello, I'm Bobby,
I'm Sharon.
and we travel full time in our vintage RV.
Awesome. So we just talked a little bit before we started this podcast here, but just to catch everybody up, you're retired. You renovated a vintage camper. Can you start with where your thought process was to go from retirement to living on the road, notwithstanding the vintage camper, just the idea of retiring and hitting the road? Can you talk about the process, the planning, and kind of the catalyst for that to happen?
Yes, we can elaborate on that. It started probably in like 2009.
Yeah.
We had taken a vacation and came out to Wyoming. We'd never been to Yellowstone, and in those travels on the way out to Yellowstone, we stopped and we were tent campers. We didn't have an RV, but we knew we loved being out. And it kind of was like we would always leave Florida and go to the mountains since we're originally from North Carolina. And I have a wife who likes the outdoors,
Yes, I do.
and I work the outdoors. I mean, I work in the outdoors all the time with my career. And we raised our children to camp in tents, and we always camped at the beach since we lived near the beach.
Right.
And our children were exposed to roughing it, so to speak. so, and I was raised that way, and she was too. She grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And my dad always kids and took us fishing and took us camping because he was ex-army. But you don't have to have all that background. You can still go out and find out things for yourself. And we met many people being out here. That's what we loved about our travel to Wyoming. When we were tent camping, we were camp with people with RVs all around us and everything like that. And they're just such nice people, and they were concerned. And that's kind of the driving force. Well, we could do this
Yeah.
for. It was kind of a joke at the time back in 2008, 2009, because she had never been west. And it was quite an adventure for us to go that first trip out, and to think that we met people that they do it full time.
Yeah.
And we met
Can we do
people
that?
we met people that traveled not just in the RV, they backpack.
Yeah.
And I was just so impressed. Of course, I had exposure to this because my previous years when I was in my 20s, I was in the Navy, and I got to travel the world on the ship with the Navy. And that was a great exposure for me because we had motorcycles and stuff, and we would travel with the ship. We had our motorcycles on the ship, but we could rent them wherever we went, and we could ride around to different countries. And I've been exposed to meeting different cultures, which I love. I love all kinds of people, and I brought this into her life.
Yes.
So we've had I've had a great life, but I've met so many wonderful. The people is what make it for me. I've met so many wonderful people out here, especially.
Yeah.
And we just got together and kind of figured that part out that, hey, we want to do this full time, but we didn't know exactly how to go about doing it with our jobs and our careers. But we gradually got more information from people that were part time and full time and did a lot of camping and stuff like that.
So can you take us through 2010 to, well, let me put it this way. So 2009 was the catalyst. That was the seed that was planted.
Yes.
Let's go to where, that seed has matured. You're getting to the point to where you're actually starting to take action. Can you touch base on where your thought process was with that? Like, did you start getting a timeline for your job? Did you start saving up money? Did you start looking at different rigs or doing research? Can you kind of touch base more on the nuts and bolts of, okay, so this is what we're doing. And then there's probably a couple of years of, okay, so how are we going to maneuver this? What was the actual items that you started taking to start living this lifestyle in the planning stage?
Well, I want to say this first. You can't do it too soon. As soon as you know that this is what you want to do, you have to start downsizing and getting rid of stuff and lining stuff up to sell and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So
We-
what
we
did
got
that
a
look
lot.
like for you? Like what did that look like for you? Was it difficult? Did you do garage sales? Did you sell your house? Like what was that?
Yeah, we had a beach house on Amelia Island in Florida, and it was our dream home. We thought. So we said, well, we gotta figure this stuff out, and we want to downsize. So we had another house. We had several properties, and we just said, well, we need all this to continue? The kids had grown up and they were gone. They were in college. They were off doing their own things. And we were kind of like empty nesters, and no grandchildren at this time, other than my oldest daughter had 2.
Yes.
She was in
Alaska.
So, well, it'd be nice to travel there, but we don't have nothing to travel with other than just to fly and go.
Yeah.
But the catalyst was we kind of knew that, hey, listen, how we're gonna look at this for our future, for ourselves. And we didn't have an RV. We never had an RV. So we started getting information, going to RV shows, just asking. We'd go to the campground, we'd walk the campground and talk to people who were in RVs.
And Mr. Man here wanted to spend over $100,000. And I was like,
yeah, well,
that's a lot of travel money.
She says, well, let's save the money and let's do more She said, let's do more homework.
Yes.
So no, any questions you have to ask are not dumb questions, because we asked some dumb questions. We thought we were going to be in parks all the time.
Exactly.
That's we were thinking, well, we'll camp at the campground and stuff. But that's before we had the exposure to come further west and learn about the free public lands and that type of thing. And part of the catalyst too was the freedom of it. Thinking, oh, we could be really free and be kind of on the fly,
Yeah.
And we were thinking, damn, well, it'd be about $700 a month to stay in a campground. Some places it's going to be more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And do we need to join? We were investigating clubs. We are escapees members and Good Samaritan members. But that came later when we got more information.
After we started selling stuff off and having yard sales one after the other and giving stuff away and donating stuff. I mean, it took about 6 years, I would say.
Yeah, it took
because we had like 7 houses.
And so, and just the financial part didn't really worry us that much because we were pretty good. I have a pension when I retired, and a lot of this stuff. Well, I'm on the cheap side. I can't help it. I think on the low end. Sorry, but I had the money to cover it. So I figured $3,000 a month would do us if we didn't have no debt. That was my number. And it's different for different people. I figured $1,000 a month to stay in a park, stay in one park 1 month, move to the next park the next month. So that's $12,000 a year. I had it all covered. Boy, did all that change.
Yeah, we don't spend near that much money.
Don't spend near that much money.
Right. And a lot of people always think that it costs so much money to be on the road. But, if you don't do RV parks and you do the boondocking like you alluded to, it's really not that expensive. Like I think I told you guys, my health insurance, vehicle insurance, cell phone, food, diesel, like every single expense I have to the Spotify monthly payment, everything is about $1,000, maybe a little bit over per month to live totally. And that's including an extra $200 that I put back that goes into the bus repair fund. Like just if anything does happen, it's very, very cheap to live this lifestyle. But for those that are watching this that don't necessarily know what boondocking is or dry camping, I'd love for you to kind of go into, like, dive a little deeper into that transition of thinking you were going to parks all the time to actually boondocking. What did that look like for you? Why did you like it? And how is your rig set up to accommodate that?
Okay. First of all, our rig was designed to go into parks.
Yes.
Okay. But we have been modifying it to be more boondock friendly, and boondocking being you're off the grid kind of.
Well, the first time we boondocked was at RTR.
Right.
And we liked it so much that we're like, oh man, we could really live frugally like this.
Yeah.
And all of our friends were doing it. And so we're like, okay, we got to start making some changes here.
Yeah, it's been gradual because, with the things, other personal things in our life that we were doing, taking care of helping our son with our grandchildren, things pop up, but we were flexible with our rig to do it, to help my son.
Right.
So that's all on the water on the bridge now. So we're totally free out here now. We can stay, we can stay and be with our friends. We can travel in caravans. We can travel and meet people. There's so many entities of things we get to do. It's just unbelievable. And it's such a good time. And the biggest thing of it is once we graduated from being in the parks to being boondocking and being off grid kind of, because I got 2 generators. I have a little one because I don't have a big battery bank. I didn't put one in, but I'm going to do that. That's next on the list is to put the. I'm going to go with Battleborn system, the complete system. I'm going to put it in. And I'm going to document that when I do it, so it'll help other people.
Whenever you do get that system, you let me know because I have a special link for you.
Okay,
Oh, cool.
all right, we will. I think Jim was telling me about. I think Deb was telling me about that.
Yeah,
So that'll be great.
But sorry, go ahead.
Well, we put in a composting toilet. We went and bought a bladder, and he built a box for it in the back of our truck. So we have 100 gallons of water. So basically, we can be off the grid for a couple of weeks without even having to do anything.
Our pantry will hold 500 pounds of food in the trailer. And that's a lot of food, folks.
Oh, yeah.
That is a lot of food.
A lot of people always ask me how they find spots and like spots to boondock, where to park for free. And I'd love to know kind of your process of finding the free places to park. Do you do it online? Is it hearsay? How do you find free places to park?
A lot of it is hearsay, but we also have apps that we use, freecamping.net. And the one I really like, though, is Free Roam. And it'll show it does an overlap of the cell signal in that area. And that's basically how we find our spots.
And we also use the BLM.
Oh, yeah. Maps.
Bureau of Land Management of the internet. And we use U.S. National Forest maps.
Right.
And we gather information from YouTube about places from our friends. And we're always getting, hey, come and see us here. And people will tell us about this great place to go. It's free.
Yeah.
And you should check it out. There's a lake and everything. So with all that information coming in, it's pretty easy to kind of decide to find a free place.
Mm-hmm. On a scale from 1 to 10, how difficult is it on a scale from 1 to 10? Like 1 is being it's very difficult. 10 is it's very easy to find a place to park.
I would say
when you first getting your legs under you, it was kind of hard for me because I didn't understand the concept. It was like you can camp free here, then you show up and there's all these RVs out there and everything. Well, like, how are they doing? I mean, they're out here for free. I mean, this was strange to me, being from the East Coast. I'm like,
yeah, nothing's free.
Where nothing's free, really. There are free places you got to dig on it, but we weren't geared that way. But we always think you got to pay for everything. You got to pay.
Yeah.
But it's not that way at all. And then you start talking to people you camp near, and some guy says, I haven't paid for a place to camp in 5 years, man. What are you talking about?
You're like, wow.
So I'm kind of blown away. You haven't paid for a place in 5 years? Yeah, I come down here from Canada every year, and I stay out here, and I got these different places I move to every 14 days. So some of the land is limited to how long you can stay. It's a 14-day stimulus, and we try to abide by the rules. The way we operate, we'll get with other people that we're camped near. If they're doing a cleanup, we go with them. And we like to leave our place better than for the next person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we've learned from the people out here. Majority of them are that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where you do have to move 14 days, but where we were parked in Quartzsite, Arizona, which, you alluded to RTR, Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. Basically, there's thousands of rigs around Quartzsite, Ehrenberg, Arizona. But the option that I went with this year was for 6 months. It was $180, and you had water and you had trash, and they had toilets out there as well. So basically, you get 6 months of rent for $180. And if your rig's set up for solar and you don't need the power and you just got the water going back and forth, or like with your generators, you probably spend about $20 a month on your power bill, if that, right. So it's very cost effective. And going back to what I said earlier, is $1,000 a month to live total. I have friends living in Nashville that are paying $1,400 a month just for rent. It's not their extra bills, it's not their food, it's not their insurance, it's not their car payment. It's like I'm saving $300 more a month out in a place I want to be than in Nashville. Nashville's cool, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So I kind of want to shift gears, unless you have something else you want to cover on boondocking or anything like that. But I'd love to touch base on the thought process of going with a vintage camper versus a Class A or, you know, a school bus or any other rigs out there. You alluded earlier that $100,000 rig, I'm guessing probably one of those Tiffin Allegros had your eye in
Yep.
the beginning. Especially being from the South there in Alabama is where they build them, I believe.
Yeah.
I think correct. What was the catalyst for that, and kind of roll us through some of your planning for that, because it's, you know, one of those HGTV episode things like, oh, we're going to take this and renovate it and make it into a home, and then they get a tenth or so in and they're like, this is way more work than anticipated. So I'd love to know why the thought process, how that first happened, and what the actual build was like.
Oh boy, this is a story. So here we are. We've never had an RV. We're tent campers, and I'm talking to buddies at work. She's talking to girlfriends. We've been talking to people at RV parks. We've been going to RV shows. We've been getting the whole spiel about some of the problems
with the new ones,
with the newer stuff that people buy.
Yeah.
My good buddy at work, he went and spent $30,000 on a really nice trailer to tow, and he never got it. He had camping planned, but he never got out of the parking lot of the RV, the dealership, because the awning broke when they were demonstrating. The black tank valve wouldn't operate. He had gobs of problems. So he lived at the dealerships for 2 weeks. That scared me to death right there. I said, I don't know if I want to buy a trailer. So I go, she's my confidant. So I go to her and said, well, my buddy at work, he's been having problems with his new RV. His old one, he said he didn't have that many problems with it. He could work on it. The new one's under warranty. He has to deal with the dealership. And boy, do they play you. I said, golly, how can you travel and you got these problems? You got to pull in and get a dealer. If you're out somewhere out west somewhere, you got to find somebody to work on this thing for you if it's under warranty and everything. So, and we were handy people. We're not scared of things. Okay. Right. So that's got to it's kind of be important about, you got to know yourself if you're going to take on some kind of trailer or something to fix up. But we kept hee-hawing around. It was getting near that time when we got to make some kind of decision. So she was looking on Craigslist one day and says, hey, I found us an RV. I said, you found us an RV? Well, it was an Airstream. And we had discussed Airstreams before. You know, those are the primo of the crop. You know, those are the best ones they ever built. Or Airstreams. Yeah, let's go get us an Airstream. They wanted over $3,000 for this Airstream. It was 17 foot. We thought, well, 17 foot, we might could do that. But you don't know till you go visualize something. So we drove all the way down about 100 miles away to look at this Airstream.
The floor was rotting out.
I could see the ground beneath me.
Yeah.
It was a dual axle. And it was really a lead sled. It was heavy. I could tell this thing had a massive chassis under it. It's heavy stuff. And I got to thinking, wow, you know, we could probably fix this up, but I think it's beyond fixing right now. So we were concerned about trying to buy something. The price of it was outrageous. They wanted over $3,000 for this thing. I told her, I said, I don't know about this. This is going to be a lot of work. It'll take a long time.
And it'll cost a ton of money, to make it look the way it was before.
Yeah. And being that it was so sloping, it's hard to get, you got to think about it. You got to get their parts.
Right.
I didn't know how to bend all that stuff and everything, put the stuff inside of it. I never worked on no RV before. I go, wow, I got to scratch my head on this one. So we put that one off, and then we kind of, after we did that little thing and talked to the guy, we kind of left the Airstreams alone. So after that, she was, our daughter-in-law and her were looking in the paper on Craigslist again. This is about a month or two later. And we come back to the table about, what are we going to get? And I just told us, well, I think I'm just going to go buy a Class A. I found one, Lazy Days in Tampa, Florida. Lazy Days is a big outfit. They have me one set up for $100,000. I said, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. We got the money. We're going to do it. We'll just pay cash. Be done. Man, this tiger over here. I don't know about this. I don't know. So then we started watching different
YouTube channels and whatnot.
people problems with Class A
Yeah.
people were having. Oh my God. Unbelievable, the problems from the engines to the black tanks to the power systems to the fires. So we backed off on that for a while. Then all of a sudden we said, well, she says, I found a trailer. We're going to go look at it.
Me and my son.
And I was working a lot of hours back in, this is like 2011, 2012. And so they went to look at this trailer, and I'm standing at the back door looking out the glass. I got up. I didn't get home at 3 in the morning. And it's about 10 o'clock. And there they pull this trailer in.
I didn't even have the right ball on the truck.
And it was pouring down rain. I'm looking at ducks by the pond, and this trailer pulls in front of me, and they stop.
Well, the rubber was coming off of it as we were pulling in the driveway.
Coming off the tire.
It was falling apart.
She jumps out of the car, comes flying around there, opens the door. What do you think? You can fix this for me? Oh, Lord. I had to take my coffee cup. I had to sit down. If I'd had some vodka or something, I'd have filled my cup up. Because this trailer looked horrible.
But I could see what it could look like.
Yeah.
He couldn't, but I could see it.
It was beyond a rusty penny.
But I have an interior design background. So, I was like, oh, we can do this and do this. And, I was ready.
So
There's a lot of work on the outside of it, though. Woo.
How was the building process? Can you touch base on what that was like from the beginning, looking at it and getting a little bit of an idea? Did you map it out on paper?
It sat in the backyard for like 6 months. And we just looked at it.
We kept walking around. I told her, when I went out there one morning, I had me another cup of coffee. And I said to her, I said, I'll tell you what. As soon as work lets up here, once we get this thing, we made a decision to start tearing into it. We just put a wooden tiny house on it. We put it on our property in Gainesville, Florida, because we own property down there near some lakes. And she says, okay, that's a good plan. But I said, now, if the chassis is no good, we just got to scrap the whole thing and get our $400 back out of the trailer.
Right.
She paid $400 for it.
Because it was going to the scrapyard in the first place.
Yeah. But it was rough. But after we started tearing it apart, and part of that process, evaluating as we went, and it was not easy to tear that thing apart because the people that had it before had used bucket tar, roofing tar to pour on the roof to try to seal up the leaks instead of fixing it properly. They had put about that much oak floor inside of it, about 6 inches. So my head was hitting the ceiling when we went in. So I told her, I said, I don't know if this is the right floor this thing came with or what. But when you get back there and start tearing into stuff, then you really start to see what it's made of.
Yes. So
we started tearing it apart. It took us about 3 months to get the inside apart. And all that time, we tarped the top of it to eliminate some of the water coming in from all the rotted out seals and stuff. Because that's what happens when something's 50 years old.
When it would rain, there was more water falling inside the camper than there was outside. It was crazy.
Yeah, all the time I'm scratching my head. I said, well, I love this woman. I love this woman. Man, that's a lot of love, I got to tell you fellas out there. That's a lot of love.
Well, it took us 2 years to finish it. But he was working, too.
Yeah, I was working. She was semi-retired by that time.
So
and we just kept our focus that, hey, we can do this. And as it gradually came about and we got it tore apart and got it and evaluated it, the chassis and the bones, I inspected the chassis because I had the flooring tore out of it. I had everything out of it.
The lift springs and everything were perfect.
The axles were great. Old, but still in good condition. Just because something's old doesn't mean it's not any good, guys. So we like to repurpose anyway. We like to do projects anyway. So after we got it tore apart and evaluated, we said, well, we're going to run with it.
Yeah.
And our daughter-in-law, to help us with this, she gave us a rendering of the trailer, what it might look like if it's fixed up. And I think you have a picture of that. I'm not really sure what it would look like if we had took some time and fixed the outside of it up, painted it. So all that kind of stuff kind of inspired us at that point. We were like, once we got rid of the smell, because we had to wear full Tyveks, respirators, everything.
Oh my gosh.
because the inside of this thing was full of bugs, roaches. It was nasty, people. And you had to have, even the sewer tank on this trailer was inside the living compartment.
It was gross.
That's the way they built them back then. It wasn't underneath separate. It was inside. The toilet was part of the tank, set right on the toilet, and was inside the cab. And it was ruptured.
Oh.
So that was a job. That took me a couple of days to get that out of it.
Well, I mean, we really couldn't save anything that was on the inside of it.
No, we couldn't.
No cabinets, no nothing, because even though this was an upgraded unit because of the sliding windows at that time, the inside was like that particle board stuff on the walls, and you couldn't save that. So we decided to rip the whole thing out and put our own stamp on it, our own layout, and it worked out great.
When it comes down to, you know, now that you're in it for a while, it's built the way that you want it with good material. Do you feel as though the time invested into it was worth it versus getting a Class A? Like the post conversion, you're on the road, was all the work worth it versus just buying something outright?
Every bit
of it. You got to remember, this thing started with good bones,
right,
when they built these trailers. And what we did to it, we added to that bone structure. The only thing we've had break on this trailer is I had a blowout in Atlanta. Yeah. One time. Nothing else is broken that we put in this trailer. And we have over 40,000 miles on it now. Took us 2 years, the restoration and bringing it back, the paint job we did, everything we did. We bought all the stuff, stored it, had it right there as we started putting it all back together. We laid it all out. We staged it properly through the events, and as weather permitted. A lot of times the weather don't cooperate.
In Florida, it rains all the time, and it's humid as you know what.
And our total build price on the trailer was $13,500.
And that includes me purchasing it.
That includes the purchase price, all the house wiring. It has house power panel. It has everything in it, house stuff, because it all came from Home Depot. And if we'd have bought this from the RV dealership, we would have spent $100,000 easily.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes down to, you know, this can be a rough estimate, but say somebody bought that trailer and they paid somebody to do this work. What is your estimate on how much and this is somebody that hires a contractor that there's no side job. He or she's just there working nonstop on this rig. What do you think the estimate would be? You know, so you got 13 in material and the trailer. Do you think somebody's looking at $50,000 or $60,000 total?
I would say $55,000 to $65,000.
Yeah,
would not be an unreasonable amount. Because this trailer right now, I could sell it for a good chunk of. We've been offered good money for it.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Yeah, because it's pretty much. I mean, it's still livable for many, many more years.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of going back to your friend that bought the trailer and he's having all these issues. When I had a Class A, I mean, I had my issues with it as well, and I'll never buy one again. That's why I went with the school bus. But there was a place in Oregon where it was like a service depot for my brand of rig. And if they had open spots, you could park there, and they had water and electric. So, you know, going back and forth to Alaska, it was a nice little stop to dump the tanks, get everything charged up, fill up the water tanks. So it was something that happened a lot. And we stopped by one year, and there was a couple there that bought a $400,000 RV, and they were living in the parking lot for 4 months. And their rig was so bad that the manufacturer was sending them a brand new rig. It was just one problem after another, and they couldn't get off the parking lot. So they sat there for 4 months with this rig that just continuously kept breaking, whether it be the electrical, the batteries, the engine, the floor, the slides. It was just one thing after another, to the point they just gave them a brand new rig. You know, like it is one of those things where it's an easy button, just going out and buying the Class A or Class C or one of the mass manufactured trailers. But they're just trying to get those things out of the factory and let the service department deal with it later. Like, exactly. I know multiple people. I know people that have had to file lawsuits to where, and they won because the rig was so bad that they got all their money back from a rig, but they lost a year. They lost the time and stress of the litigation. There is no way that I'd ever buy a new rig. And I always tell people, like, something custom like yours, where somebody put in that sweat equity and they built it well, or a school bus that somebody did a pretty good job, and they got the engine worked on, they got all the everything figured out, the drivetrain, they use good material for the inside. I always suggest people to do that before going out and buying a Class A. Always.
Exactly. I mean, if we hadn't have done this, and we never even thought of a school bus, but after seeing all of y'all in yours, we're like, wow, we could have done that too.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of options, especially if you got the know-how.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. But doing this trailer taught us so much about ourselves, about, and it's really nice to go and know that we didn't lose 100 grand.
Yes.
And our trailer right now, we can still get our 13.5 out of it.
Oh,
So
easily.
we haven't lost. It's been a value investment for us.
Yes.
But it'll be in our family for a long time because our children absolutely love it.
So you mentioned how much you enjoy the lifestyle. Somebody's watching this, whether they get a school bus or build a trailer, or they just decide to go with a Class A, and they found one that's been well taken care of, and somebody's lived in it for a while, and it's good to go. Whatever it is, if you had any advice for people to pull the trigger and attempt this lifestyle, try this lifestyle, if they have trepidation right now, what advice would you tell them to attempt this lifestyle?
My thought is, if you don't have to go full bore into it, gather information, make a reasonable assumption, whether you be part-time, half-time, three-quarter time, full-time. I just think there's so many different levels that you can pursue this lifestyle to fit your own personal need. I mean, I met a guy getting gas together. This is a good story here. Him and his buddy owned a pool business in Jacksonville. He was taking his 6 months off in the RV that the company paid for. They were headed to California. They were headed to Washington. His other buddy run the business for 6 months. When he came back, the other buddy took the RV and he took off for 6 months. What a sweet deal. What a great lifestyle. And they still had their houses at the golf course. I mean, I've met all walks of life, lawyers, doctors, FBI. I met a guy in Quartzsite when I was getting water. He worked for the Secretary of State. He was out there in his fifth wheel. When we camped in Quartzsite long-term at La Posta South, he spoke 7 different languages, working for the State Department. Such a cool, he was my age. He had retired. He says, yep, sold a house. I got a cabin up near Mount Rainier in Washington State. He got rid of his big house and everything. He says, yep, me and the little lady just got this cabin. And we, when it's warm weather, we're up there. And when it's cold, we're down here and we're traveling Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, down into Texas. He says, we love our lives.
That's it.
So whatever it is you want to do, you can do. And this lifestyle will free you up, free your money up to do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful. You just got to kind of sit back and know how you are, what your abilities, assess the situation.
That's it.
And then have a plan, put together a plan.
And you can never start too soon.
Yeah, and say if you want to get your feet wet, buy an older pool trailer from someone, and have somebody, if you don't know a whole lot, have someone go with you to inspect.
Exactly.
But take little trips first. That's what we always did. We took, like a trip within 50, 100 miles.
Yeah.
Take small trips, get to know folks. Don't be scared to talk. A lot of times in campgrounds, people don't, it's usually families in there. They don't talk to nobody much. You ever seen that, Chris, where you're in a campground and nobody's
outside.
But us free people out here, we're always talking and say hello. It's a whole different concept. And that's also a different thing I tell people. Don't be scared to talk to your neighbors out here in the RV.
Well, and make sure, he said go on short trips. Yeah, make sure you like the lifestyle first before you dive straight in.
And if there's going to be 2 of you, what we feel like with the length of our trailer is 29 feet. I felt like 16 feet would have been too small. Now that I know that we're in the trailer, because the way our trailer is, we got a door in between. back bedroom in the front of the trailer, and we can divide our company time together. She can go back and watch TV in the back bedroom, and I can watch my stuff or play on the computer, do my financial stuff that I love to do. And she's not bothering me. I'm not bothering her.
Yeah, and also there's websites like Outdoorsy where you can actually rent rigs. You don't have to make that full investment. You can go out and rent a camper van for $100 a night. Take 5 days, do a full 7 days with your 2 weekends, and really get out there, see if it's something you want to do. And you know for me, I mean, once I took that first trip after college, when I renovated a little cheap soccer mom van, just drove around with my dog, I knew that was it. I mean, after that trip, it wouldn't surprise me that I had a 40-foot school bus that I was living in full time after that trip, right? Like if you get the bug, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but even coming from the East Coast, coming out here is such an education. All of free public lands. That's a whole different concept.
Yeah.
Than what we're conditioned for on the East Coast, having to always pay for everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got some of these campgrounds in these places you go, they charge you $40 a night up to $100.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I'm not paying that. That's not what I'm after. I'm more of a basic person. I'm grounded. I'm ground level. I'd rather have money to give to somebody to help them than to spend money on those expensive parks. I'm just that way.
Yeah. Well, I
go hiking and all that kind of stuff too. So, this frees us up to do what we want to do.
I always tell people that if I never travel in my bus east of the Mississippi, I'll be okay, because once you get across the Mississippi, you get into the plains, you get into the mountains, and then you get into the coast. There's so many free spots. I mean, I think if people really realized how lucky we are as Americans to have the public land and the BLM that we can actually go on and camp and explore, how rare that is in this world, I think people would be way more into this lifestyle, because it is just absolutely amazing having that resource.
Exactly.
For sure, Chris. Enough couldn't be said about it. I could talk all day long about this. That's just it's changed my health has even changed.
Exactly.
The health part of our life. I mean, I'm almost 65, and I don't feel a day over. I feel healthier now than when I was 45.
Well, you worked.
Well, I know, but you worked too, honey. We both worked, had careers, but still, I mean, even then, I feel so much younger now because, and I meet so many young, wonderful young people out here that have this mindset. They beat me. I'm jealous because they beat me to it.
Yeah, we wish we had done this years ago.
Yeah, years ago. I wish we'd done it years ago. I adore the young people like yourself that are doing it, and I just have so much respect for them to have the guts to come out and do it. It's just wonderful to see them succeed. I want to see them succeed. And that's my message to all the young people. Hey, get out here and enjoy it. This is a one-way ticket, folks.
That's a fact.
But if you're our age, 10 years younger, whatever your age, you never. We've met people that are 75 that just started doing this. And they're our followers on our channel. And it's just wonderful to hear from them. And they're so thankful that we were able to give them a kind of an insight. And we're thankful too that there's other people give us an insight.
That's it.
And we're so thankful that we're able to live this lifestyle. We're so blessed. We're just so blessed.
I mean, it's the younger people, like people always tell me how cool it is, and starting online businesses, and I always tell them, like, it had nothing to do with me. Like, I like to work hard, and I like to build things. It's just something that I was lucky to have inherently inside me. But also, I'm just very lucky that I was born at the right time to have this box of lights where I'm able to talk to you guys in Arizona. I'm able to work. I'm able to make money online and have the internet, be born in a country where this bus, Cummins 8.3 with an Allison 3060, just an absolute tank of a machine, for $3,000 through the internet, and then find people through the internet to help me build it. Like, it's nothing that I did. I just happened to get very, very lucky to be born at the right time in the right place to be able to live this lifestyle. So again, I think it's why it's so hard for me to not understand why people don't do it that want to do it, just because, here in the States, we have the cards stacked in our favor so much. It just blows me away that I'm like, do it. Like, if this is something you want to do, you have so much opportunity to do it. And that just scrapes the top of it, because we have the infrastructure, we have the public lands, we have the opportunity to work remotely, especially now with COVID and everything happening, companies transitioning into remote work. There's so many more remote work opportunities popping up to where you can make $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and it costs you everything your entire life at $1,000 a month. You're pocketing $3,000 a month.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the way it is, man.
Well,
That's the way it is.
To get into this, they have to have the right attitude too. And a lot of people, they think it's going to be, oh God, it's going to be hard. It's going to cost me more money than it does me being in an apartment and this, that, and the other. No, not really. Not really. We love it. It's freedom. I mean, we are free to travel around and go wherever we want. And that's awesome. That is just awesome.
it's a blessing. Well, if somebody did want to catch up with you guys, send you a message, see what you're doing out there, any questions about the rig, where can people find you online, and what is the best way to get a hold of you?
We're the Nomadic Ramblers, and we're on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can get a hold of us on Instagram or Facebook. We have the Facebook channel, that's the Nomadic Ramblers, and you can always send us a message on YouTube. So yeah, we
Awesome.
made it all one channel, so it's easy for everybody to contact us.
Absolutely, and that'll be in the description of this podcast if you're listening to it on YouTube or the actual podcast app. It'll be in the show notes. But I greatly appreciate your guys' time today. Anything else before we sign off?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris, for all your efforts and all your good works. And thank all of us RVers out here that do the good things the good way.
Yes.
And this is my new family out here, and I love my family out here. The people, it's just great.
Awesome.
If I had any problem, I have numbers and numbers I can call. And the support network with the group out here, the full-timers, the part-timers, just everyone in this environment, 99.9% of them are just awesome folks.
Oh, and there are no bad days.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Chris, thank you.
Bye.